Captain Jin Woo stood on the bridge of the diplomatic vessel New Seoul, watching the last Federation checkpoint grow smaller in the view screen. His hands gripped the metal rail until his knuckles turned white. Behind him, the communications officer reported the final transmission from Federation space. All human vessels have cleared the border, Captain. The Federation has activated the barrier fields. Jin Woo nodded slowly. After 50 years of trying to join galactic society, humanity was being thrown out like unwanted garbage. He turned to face his crew. These were the last humans to leave Federation territory. Everyone else had already been forced to go. Set course for the outer rim, he said quietly. Take us home. Dr. Nahi walked onto the bridge, her face tired and sad. She had spent 20 years studying alien cultures, learning their languages, trying to prove that humans belonged in the galaxy. Now all that work meant nothing. The Federation Council made their final statement, she said, holding a data pad. They say humans are too dangerous and primitive for galactic civilization. Jin Woo laughed, but there was no joy in it. Too primitive. After we showed them our technology, after we proved we could travel between stars. He remembered the first contact 50 years ago. Humanity had been so excited to learn they were not alone. The Federation seemed like a dream come true. Thousands of alien species working together in peace. Humans had rushed to prove they deserved a place among the stars. The Federation had different ideas. Admiral Park Tae's voice came through the ship's communication system. He was commanding the evacuation fleet from his flagship. All vessels, this is Admiral Park. We are officially beyond Federation space. Welcome to exile. The word hung in the air like a curse. Exile. Cast out. Rejected. Jin Woo thought back to the Federation Council meeting 3 months ago. He had been there as humanity's representative, making one last attempt to change their minds. The council chamber was huge, filled with aliens of every shape and size imaginable. The Valdari looked like beings made of light and energy. They floated above their seats, speaking in musical tones. They were supposed to be the wisest species in the galaxy. The Construct Alliance sent mechanical representatives, their metal bodies clicking and whirring as they processed data. They were meant to be the most logical. Both groups agreed on one thing: humans had to go. The species called humans shows concerning patterns, the Valdari representative had said. They form tribes and fight each other. They show excessive emotional responses. They cannot control their territorial instincts. The Construct Alliance representative added, human behavior is unpredictable. They make decisions based on feelings rather than logic. Such beings cannot be trusted in galactic society, Jin Woo had tried to argue. We have ended wars on our planet. We work together now. We have shown we can change and grow. But the council would not listen. Species after species voted the same way. Even the ones that looked similar to humans turned against them. The vote was unanimous. Humanity must leave Federation space and never return. We give you 1 solar cycle to remove all human presence from Federation territory, the council leader announced. After that, any human vessels will be destroyed on sight. Dr. Nahai sat down next to Jin Woo, bringing him back to the present. I keep thinking about what they said. About us being too emotional, too violent. And yet they vote to kick out an entire species without giving us a real chance. Jin Woo replied. Where's their famous logic in that? The truth was more complicated than either side wanted to admit. Humans had shown remarkable progress in just 50 years of galactic contact. They learned alien technologies faster than expected. They adapted to new environments better than most species. They even started developing their own improvements to Federation science. That was the real problem. Dr. Nahai pulled up files on her data pad. I've been studying the other species that were rejected by the Federation. There's a pattern. All of them showed rapid technological development. All of them were independent thinkers. Jin Woo looked at the data. What happened to them? Most were destroyed. A few disappeared into deep space and were never seen again. She paused. I think the Federation doesn't want competition. They want members who will follow orders, not species who might challenge their authority. On the view screen, the stars looked different now. These were not the bright, welcoming stars of Federation space. These were the dim, scattered lights of the outer rim, the galaxy's forgotten edge where dangerous things lived and died in darkness. Admiral Park's voice came through again. All fleet commanders report to secure channel for briefing. Jin Woo activated his captain's communication link. Admiral Park appeared on his screen, along with dozens of other ship captains. Behind Park stood several other human leaders. Fellow humans, Park began, we have been cast out by those who claim to represent galactic civilization. They call us primitive. They say we don't belong among the stars. Murmurs of agreement and anger came from the other captains. But we are not defeated, Park continued. We have our ships, our technology, and most importantly, our spirit. The galaxy is vast. The Federation controls only a small part of it. There are entire regions they fear to explore. Dr. Na-Hai leaned forward. What are you suggesting, Admiral? I'm suggesting we prove them wrong. Not by begging to return, but by showing the galaxy what humanity can really accomplish when we're free to be ourselves. Jin Woo felt something stir in his chest. Not quite hope, but something like it. The Outer Rim has resources the Federation ignores. Dead systems, rogue planets, areas they consider worthless. Exactly, Park said. We'll build our own civilization. Not a copy of theirs, but something truly human. Something they never expected us to achieve. As the fleet moved deeper into the darkness between stars, Jin Woo felt the weight of responsibility. They were carrying not just human lives, but human dreams. The Federation had rejected them, but maybe that was exactly what humanity needed, freedom to become something greater than anyone imagined. The stars ahead were dark and cold, but they were theirs now. And in that darkness, humanity would learn to build something the galaxy had never seen before. Engineer. So Min floated in her worksuit outside the massive construction vessel Dark Forge, watching robots and human workers build something impossible. The structure growing before her eyes defied everything the Federation claimed to know about physics. 25 years had passed since humanity's exile. So Min had been just a child then, born on one of the evacuation ships. Now she was the chief engineer of humanity's greatest project, a city that existed in the space between dimensions. Engineering team, this is Control, came the voice through her helmet radio. We're ready for the next phase installation. So Min activated her thruster pack and flew toward the construction site. Around her, the Erebus Nebula swirled in beautiful, deadly colors. The nebula was filled with dark matter and strange energy fields that made most alien species sick just being near it. Federation ships avoided this entire region. That made it perfect for humanity's secret work. Commander Lee Jun met her at the airlock. His face was scarred from years of dangerous missions in the Outer Rim. He commanded the special forces units that protected human construction sites from the few threats brave enough to venture into the dark zones. How's the progress, So-Min? He asked as they walked through the ship's corridors. Better than expected, she replied, pulling up holographic displays on her wrist computer. We've learned to use dark matter as a building material. The Federation always said it was impossible to control, but they were thinking about it wrong. Lee Jun studied the technical data, though most of it was beyond his understanding. Explain it simply. So-Min smiled. Dark matter doesn't interact with normal matter the way they expected, but it does respond to human brainwaves in a unique way. Our emotional patterns can actually influence its behavior. You're saying our feelings can control dark matter? Not control exactly, more like communicate with it. The Federation species are too logical, too rigid in their thinking. Dark matter responds to creativity, to intuition, to the chaotic way human minds work. They reached the observation deck where Dr. Kim Rhee was monitoring quantum readings. The physicist looked up from her instruments with excitement in her eyes. So-Min, the readings are incredible. We're not just building in normal space anymore. This structure exists partially outside our dimension. Federation sensors won't even be able to detect it. Through the large windows, So-Min could see human workers moving like dancers around the growing structure. Some worked in normal space, welding metal and installing systems. Others seemed to fade in and out of reality as they worked with dark matter components that existed in multiple dimensions at once. The Federation would call this impossible, Dr. Kim Rhee continued. Their science says you can't build stable structures with dark matter, but they never tried working with it the way we do. So-Min nodded. She had studied Federation science during the exile years. It was advanced, but limited by their rigid thinking. They approached problems with pure logic, following rules and formulas. Humans approach the same problems with intuition and creativity, finding solutions that shouldn't work but did. "How many cities like this are we building?" Li Jun asked. 17 are under construction, So Min replied. Each one is hidden in a different type of dangerous space. One is inside a gas giant's storm system. Another orbits inside the event horizon of a black hole, using time dilation effects for protection. Li Jun shook his head in amazement. "And the Federation thinks we're primitive." Dr. Kim Ri laughed. "Primitive compared to what? They're still using the same technologies they had 1,000 years ago. We've developed more in 25 years of exile than they have in centuries." The truth was that human exile had forced rapid evolution. Without Federation restrictions and regulations, human scientists could experiment freely. They discovered that many of the galaxy's impossible zones were only impossible for rigid, logical thinking. Human creativity found ways to thrive in environments that terrified other species. So Min activated her communication link to connect with other construction sites across the human territories. Holographic images appeared showing progress at different locations. Site 7 is reporting successful completion of their phase gate, she announced. "We now have instant travel between 12 hidden locations." The phase gates were humanity's greatest achievement. They didn't use the Federation's slow hyperspace lanes. Instead, they created temporary doorways through dimensions that didn't normally exist. Travel that took weeks through normal space happened instantly through the phase gate network. "The Federation still thinks faster than light travel requires their hyperspace roads," Dr. Kim Ri said. "They have no idea we've been moving instantly between star systems for 5 years. Commander Li Jun looked worried. "What happens when they find out?" "They won't," So Min said confidently. "Our gates exist in dimensional spaces they can't detect. Even if a Federation ship was sitting right next to a gate activation, their sensors wouldn't register anything unusual." A communication signal came through from Admiral Park Tae, now the overall commander of human space operations. His image appeared in the observation deck. "So Min, how soon until the primary hub is operational?" 3 more months, Admiral. Once it's complete, we'll have a mobile city ship that can exist anywhere in the galaxy while remaining completely hidden. Admiral Park smiled. "Good. Because our scouts are reporting increased Federation activity in the border regions. They're expanding their territory and eliminating more independent species." So Min felt anger rise in her chest. How many this time? 2 species completely destroyed. 3 more forced into slavery contracts. The Federation is becoming more aggressive. Dr. Kim Ri clenched her fists. "We have to do something." "We will," Admiral Park said. "But not yet. We need to finish building our capabilities first. The Federation has millions of ships and thousands of member species. We're still just a few million humans hiding in the dark." So Min understood the strategy, but it was hard to wait while other species suffered. Humanity had the technology to fight back now, but they were still vastly outnumbered. "There is some good news," Admiral Park continued. "Our intelligence networks are reporting success. We have agents gathering information throughout Federation space." "Agents?" Li Jun asked. "I thought we were cut off from Federation territory." Admiral Park's smile became mysterious. "We are, officially. But humans are very good at going places they're not supposed to be." After the communication ended, So Min returned to work on the construction project. But her mind was focused on the future. Humanity was building an empire in the shadows, creating technologies that surpassed anything the galaxy had seen. They were becoming something the Federation never expected. The aliens who had cast out humanity as primitive were about to discover their mistake. As So Min watched human workers dance through dimensions, building impossible structures with materials that shouldn't exist, she felt pride surge through her. They had taken the galaxy's rejection and turned it into strength. Soon, the Federation would learn what humanity could accomplish when they were truly free. Intelligence Officer Han Ye adjusted her biomask one final time before stepping off the transport ship. To any observer, She looked exactly like a typical Valdari trader. Tall, pale blue skin, and the characteristic energy glow around her head. No one would suspect she was human. The Federation trade hub of Nexus Station bustled with activity. Hundreds of alien species moved through the massive corridors, conducting business under the watchful eyes of Federation peacekeepers. Hanya had walked among them for 3 years, gathering intelligence while completely invisible. "Control, this is Shadow 7, she whispered into her hidden communicator. "I'm in position for the council meeting." Colonel Wumi's voice came back through her earpiece. "Confirmed, Shadow 7. Remember, we need details about their expansion plans." Hanya smiled as she walked toward the restricted council chambers. The Federation had no idea that humans had developed perfect biological disguises. Using advanced genetic modification technology, human agents could temporarily alter their appearance to match any alien species. The process was painful and dangerous, but it gave humanity eyes and ears throughout the galaxy. She passed a Federation security checkpoint without even being scanned. Her modified biology registered as completely Valdari. The guards ignored her just as they had for months. Professor Minte's research had made this possible. Working in secret laboratories hidden in dark space, human scientists had mapped the genetic patterns of dozens of alien species. They discovered that human DNA was remarkably adaptable, more so than any other known species. With the right modifications, humans could mimic almost any life form. The Federation had called humans primitive, but they had no idea how advanced human biotechnology had become. Hanya entered the council chamber and took her assigned seat. Around her, representatives from major Federation species discussed trade routes and resource allocation. She had attended dozens of these meetings, learning the true structure of galactic civilization. What she had discovered was disturbing. "The Keth system continues to resist our integration offers," announced a Construct Alliance representative. Its mechanical voice showed no emotion as it discussed the destruction of entire worlds. "Recommend immediate enforcement action." Hanya kept her expression neutral, but inside she felt sick. She had seen this pattern before. The Federation would offer membership to newly spacefaring species. If they refused or showed too much independence, enforcement action followed. "Approved," said the Valdari Council leader. "Deploy pacification fleet to Keth system. Standard protocol." Standard protocol meant complete destruction of the species' military forces, followed by occupation and forced integration. Any beings who resisted further would be eliminated. The Federation called it bringing peace to the galaxy. After the meeting, Hanya made her way to the station's information center. Her cover identity gave her access to Federation databases that contained details about enforcement operations. What she found confirmed her worst fears. Over the past 1,000 years, the Federation had encountered hundreds of species that achieved faster-than-light travel. Only about half had joined willingly. The others had been forced to join or been completely destroyed. The galaxy was filled with the bones of civilizations that had dared to remain independent. "Control, I have new intelligence," Hanya whispered, as she walked through a quiet section of the station. "The Federation is preparing to eliminate the Keth. I'm sending data files now." Colonel Wumi's voice was grim. "Received. This confirms our analysis. How long do the Keth have?" Hanya checked the deployment schedules. 3 days. A full battle fleet is already moving toward their system. Back in human space, Colonel Wumi studied the intelligence reports from dozens of agents like Hanya. The Shadow Network had grown far beyond what the Federation imagined possible. Human agents operated on every major Federation world, in their military forces, even in their government offices. The irony was perfect. The Federation had rejected humans for being too unpredictable and emotional. Those same traits made humans the galaxy's perfect spies. While logical alien species followed predictable patterns, humans could adapt to any role, any culture, any situation. "How many active agents do we have?" asked General Park Min as he reviewed the latest reports. "Over 2,000, Wumi replied. "Some have been in place for 15 years. They've risen to positions of significant authority in Federation society." Park Min studied a holographic map showing agent positions throughout the galaxy. Red dots marked human operatives in military units, government offices, research facilities, and trade networks. The Federation was completely penetrated. "What about our enhanced operatives?" Wumi smiled. "Project Ghost is performing beyond expectations. Our enhanced agents can operate in environments that would kill normal humans. We have operatives working in the Valdari energy fields, inside Construct Alliance computer networks, even in the high radiation zones around their stellar engineering projects. The enhanced operatives were humanity's most secret achievement. Using the same biotechnology that created perfect disguises, human scientists had given volunteers abilities that surpassed normal human limits. Some could survive in pure energy forms. Others could interface directly with computer systems. A few could exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. And they still have no idea we're there? None. To their sensors, our people register as whatever species they're imitating. But there's more. Wumi activated another set of displays. Our agents have discovered why the Federation really rejected humanity. The data showed Federation internal communications from 50 years ago, around the time of humanity's first contact. The real discussions had been very different from the public statements. They weren't afraid of human violence or emotions, Parkman read. They were afraid of human independence. Exactly. Internal Federation documents show they considered humanity a major threat because humans developed technology too quickly and refused to follow established patterns. They feared humans would inspire other species to rebel against Federation control. Parkman laughed bitterly. They were right to be afraid. The truth was even more disturbing. Federation analysis had predicted that humans would develop faster-than-light communication that bypassed Federation control networks within 50 years. That technology would allow species to coordinate rebellion across the galaxy. The Federation couldn't allow that to happen, so they had voted to exile humanity before it became too dangerous to stop. "Sir," one of Wumi's assistants announced, "we're receiving an emergency transmission from Shadow 7. Hanya's voice came through the communication system, tense with urgency. "Control. I'm witnessing Federation enforcement action against the Keth homeworld. It's worse than we thought." The transmission included video footage that made everyone in the command center fall silent. Federation ships were systematically destroying Keth cities from orbit. There was no attempt to target military installations or preserve civilian life. "This was genocide, pure and simple. How many?" Parkman asked quietly. 4 billion Keth, Hanya reported. "The entire species will be extinct within hours." The command center fell silent as they watched another independent civilization die. The Federation's peaceful facade was completely false. They maintained control through fear and murder. "Shadow 7, extract immediately," Wumi ordered. "Your cover may be compromised. Negative control. I'm staying to document everything. The galaxy needs to know what the Federation really is." Parkman made a decision that would change everything. "Colonel Wumi, activate all Shadow Network assets. It's time to stop hiding, sir. Send a message to Admiral Jun Na. Tell her to prepare the fleet for action. We're done watching species die while we build in shadows." As orders went out to human agents across the galaxy, Parkman felt the weight of history. Humanity had spent 25 years preparing for this moment. They had built an empire in darkness, developed technologies beyond Federation understanding, and placed agents in every corner of galactic civilization. The Federation had cast out humanity to prevent rebellion. They were about to discover they had created exactly what they feared most. Fleet Admiral Jun Na stood in the command center of humanity's most advanced warship, the Voidwalker. Around her, holographic displays showed Federation forces positioned across dozens of star systems. For the first time in 50 years, humanity was going to war. "All Shadow Fleet units report status," she commanded. Voices came back from hidden ships scattered throughout the galaxy. Captain Li He commanded the strike force near Valdari Prime. General Park Min led ground forces ready to assault Federation strongholds. Hundreds of other commanders waited for orders to attack targets simultaneously across thousands of light years. "Target list is confirmed, Admiral," reported her tactical officer. "We have Federation military installations, government centers, and communications hubs marked for simultaneous strikes." Jun Na studied the battle plan one final time. This wasn't going to be like any war the galaxy had ever seen. Humanity had learned from their exile. They wouldn't fight the Federation's way, massive fleets clashing in open space. Instead, they would use surprise, superior technology, and perfect intelligence to strike where their enemies were weakest. Signal all units. Operation Shadow Strike begins in 60 seconds. The Federation had no idea what was coming. Their sensors showed empty space around their most important facilities. They couldn't detect ships that existed partially outside normal dimensions, or weapons that attacked through folds in spacetime. 30 seconds, Jun-Na announced. Remember, we're not here to conquer. We're here to liberate. Captain Li Hei's ship materialized directly above Valdari Prime's orbital defense platform. The Federation's most advanced sensors had detected nothing until the human vessel simply appeared in normal space. By then, it was too late. Target acquired, Li Hei reported. Defense platform has no shields raised. They don't even know we're here. The human attack began with weapons the Federation had never imagined. Instead of energy beams or projectiles, human ships fired gravitational waves that twisted space itself. Defense platforms that had withstood thousand-year-old weapons crumpled like paper toys. Direct hit, Li Hei confirmed. Platform destroyed. Moving to secondary targets. Across the galaxy, similar strikes happened simultaneously. Federation installations that had seemed perfectly protected were suddenly under attack by ships that appeared from nowhere. Human vessels phased in and out of normal space, making them nearly impossible to target. On Valdari Prime's surface, General Park Min led the ground assault. His soldiers wore armor that let them exist in multiple dimensions at once. Federation troops fired at enemies who seemed to be solid one moment and transparent the next. Advancing on government complex, Park Min reported, enemy resistance is minimal. They can't hit targets they can't properly see. The Federation defenders were paralyzed by confusion. Their weapons passed harmlessly through human soldiers who existed partially outside normal space. When humans chose to become solid, their own weapons struck with devastating effect. Admiral Jun-Na watched the battle reports with satisfaction. All units report status. Valdari Prime defense grid is down, Li Hei announced. Moving to assist ground forces. Federation communication hub at Nexus Station is under our control, reported another captain. Enemy fleet elements are in full retreat. Construct Alliance Central Processing Facility has been neutralized, came a third report. Their tactical computers are offline. The Federation had built their military around the assumption that they faced enemies who followed known laws of physics. Human technology operated by different rules entirely, ships that could exist in multiple dimensions, weapons that attacked through folded space, soldiers who could phase in and out of reality. None of it should have been possible according to Federation science. But humanity had learned to work with the universe's hidden aspects during their exile. While Federation species followed rigid scientific principles, humans had discovered that creativity and intuition could unlock possibilities that pure logic missed. Admiral, her communications officer announced, we're receiving surrender requests from 12 Federation installations. Jun-Na smiled grimly. Accept surrenders only from species being held against their will. Any Federation loyalist who want to surrender can be taken prisoner, but they don't get to negotiate. The truth was that many Federation member species had joined under threat rather than choice. Human intelligence had identified which civilizations were being held in the Federation by force. Those species were offered immediate protection and independence. Signal from Captain Li Hei, the communications officer continued. Valdari Prime government has agreed to release all forced member species and dissolve their military alliance with the Federation. What about the Valdari themselves? They're requesting asylum. Apparently, they've been trying to leave the Federation for centuries but were prevented by economic and military pressure. Jun-Na felt a moment of surprise. The Valdari had been among the strongest voices calling for humanity's exile. But intelligence reports suggested that many Federation leaders were acting under pressure from the true controlling powers. Grant their request. But they'll be monitored closely. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out. Federation installations fell not to overwhelming force, but to technology their defenders couldn't comprehend. Human ships struck with surgical precision, targeting command structures while avoiding civilian casualties. The Federation's response was predictably chaotic. Their military doctrine assumed they would face enemies using familiar weapons and tactics. Human forces operating by completely different principles threw their entire command structure into confusion. Admiral, we're receiving a communication from Federation High Command, announced the communications officer. They're demanding to speak with our leadership. Put them through. The holographic display showed the Federation High Council chamber. The alien leaders looked shocked and terrified. These beings had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years, and now their entire power structure was crumbling in a matter of hours. "Who are you?" demanded the Construct Alliance representative. "Identify your species and state your demands." Jun-Na stepped forward, allowing her image to be transmitted. "I am Fleet Admiral Jun-Na of the Human Shadow Fleet. We have no demands. We're here to end your tyranny." The council chamber erupted in alien voices expressing shock and disbelief. Several representatives started talking at once, but Jun-Na cut them off. 50 years ago, you voted to exile humanity from the galaxy. You called us primitive and dangerous. Today you're learning what we've become in the shadows you forced us into. The Valdari council leader found her voice. "This is impossible. Humans were technologically inferior. Your ships couldn't match ours." "Your ships," Jun-Na replied calmly, "built with technology that hasn't advanced in 1,000 years. You became so comfortable ruling the galaxy that you stopped innovating. We spent 50 years learning what the universe really has to offer." On the tactical displays, Federation forces were in full retreat throughout their territory. Their 1,000-year-old empire was collapsing faster than they could comprehend. "What do you want?" the Construct Alliance representative asked. "Justice," Jun-Na replied, "starting with the immediate release of every species you've enslaved. Every civilization you've forced into membership will be given the chance to choose their own path. You cannot simply destroy galactic civilization," the Valdari leader protested. "We're not destroying civilization. We're ending your version of it." Jun-Na's voice remained calm but firm. "True galactic civilization should be based on cooperation, not domination." The communication ended, leaving Jun-Na to oversee the continued dismantling of Federation military power. Human forces had achieved in 6 hours what the Federation had thought impossible: the complete collapse of their defense networks. "Admiral," Captain Li He reported, "we're receiving thousands of communications from member species requesting immediate independence." "Grant all requests," Jun-Na replied, "and offer them protection during their transition." As reports continued to flow in, Jun-Na realized they had crossed a line from which there was no return. Humanity had revealed itself to the galaxy, not as the primitive species the Federation remembered, but as something entirely new. The shadows were lifting, and the galaxy would never be the same. President Kim Woo stood before the assembled representatives of 300 alien species aboard humanity's capital ship, New Dawn. The massive vessel existed partially outside normal spacetime, making it impossible for hostile forces to locate or attack. It was a fitting symbol of what humanity had become. "Fellow beings of the galaxy," she began, her voice translating into hundreds of languages simultaneously. "We gather today not as conquerors and conquered, but as equals seeking a better future." 6 months had passed since the Federation's collapse. The galaxy was still adjusting to the new reality. Species that had been enslaved for centuries were learning to govern themselves again. Others were discovering technologies they had never been allowed to develop. Ambassador So-Jun sat in the front row, representing the newly formed Galactic Liberation Council. Beside him sat delegates from species that had suffered under Federation rule: the Keth survivors that humanity had saved, the Thorak who had been used as slave labor, and dozens of others. The old Federation claimed to bring peace through unity, President Kim continued, but their peace required submission. Their unity was built on fear. We offer something different: cooperation based on choice. Admiral Jin Hai monitored the gathering from the ship's command center. Her fleets were positioned throughout the galaxy, ready to protect the new order from anyone who might try to restore the old ways. The Federation's military forces had either surrendered or fled to the galaxy's edge. "President," came a report from her tactical officer, "we're detecting Federation loyalist forces massing in the outer spiral. Former Federation species that refuse to accept independence." Jin Hai nodded. Not everyone welcomed the change. Some species had grown comfortable with Federation rule and saw humanity's intervention as an invasion rather than liberation. These groups were attempting to rebuild the old empire under new leadership. "Monitor them closely," she ordered, "but don't engage unless they attack peaceful worlds. We won't force freedom on anyone, even if we disagree with their choices." Back in the assembly chamber, President Kim was outlining the principles of the Shadow Confederation, the new galactic organization that would replace the Federation. Every Member species maintains complete sovereignty over their internal affairs, she explained. No central authority will dictate how you govern yourselves or develop your technology. We ask only that you respect the same rights for others. The representative from the Valdari raised a question. What prevents this confederation from becoming another empire? What stops humanity from imposing its will on others? Kim smiled. You do? The confederation has no central government that can be corrupted or conquered. It's a network of free species that choose to cooperate when it benefits everyone. If humanity ever tries to become the new federation, you can simply leave. It was a radical concept. For thousands of years, galactic civilization had been built on hierarchy and control. The Shadow Confederation proposed something that seemed impossible. Large-scale cooperation without domination. Dr. Nahai, now serving as humanity's chief xenologist, presented the scientific framework that made it possible. Human research has discovered that forced unity actually weakens civilizations. Species develop best when they're free to follow their own paths while sharing knowledge with others. The data supported her claims. In just 6 months of freedom, former Federation member species had made more technological progress than they had in centuries under Federation rule. Without restrictions on research and development, alien scientists were making breakthrough discoveries almost daily. The Federation stagnated because it prevented innovation, Dr. Na explained. They wanted predictable, controllable subjects, not creative partners. We've learned that diversity of thought is the key to advancement. Ambassador. Sojun stood to address the assembly. The Shadow Confederation offers protection, not control. Our human allies have developed technologies that can shield your worlds from any aggressor, but they ask nothing in return except that you extend the same protection to others. It was true. Human technology had advanced so far beyond Federation science that protecting peaceful worlds required minimal effort. Ships that existed in multiple dimensions could appear instantly anywhere in the galaxy. Weapons that manipulated space-time itself could disable hostile forces without causing permanent damage. But more importantly, humanity had learned from their own exile. They understood what it meant to be rejected and cast out. That experience had taught them to value freedom above all else. We have a new report from the frontier regions, Admiral Jin Hai announced through the ship's communication system. The Zilani have achieved faster-than-light travel. The assembly fell silent. Under the old Federation, this would have meant immediate contact by enforcement fleets. The Zilani would have been given a choice: join the Federation or be destroyed. What is our response? Asked the Thorak representative. President Kim smiled. Ambassador Sojun will take a small diplomatic vessel to offer friendship and assistance. If the Zilani want to remain isolated, that's their choice. If they want to join the galactic community, we'll help them do it safely. This was how first contact worked under the new system. No massive fleets, no ultimatums, no forced integration. New spacefaring species were greeted with offers of friendship and protection, but the choice was always theirs. The human approach has proven effective, reported the communications officer. 17 species have achieved FTL capability since the Federation's fall. 15 chose to join the Confederation voluntarily. 2 preferred isolation and were left in peace. The contrast with Federation methods was stark. Under the old system, most new species either joined through fear or were eliminated as threats. The Shadow Confederation welcomed diversity of choice, even when species chose to remain alone. President Kim activated a holographic display showing the galaxy's current political map. Former Federation territory was now a complex network of independent species, most connected through the Shadow Confederation's protection agreements. This is what galactic civilization looks like when it's based on freedom, rather than fear, she said. We have more diversity, more innovation, and more genuine cooperation than the galaxy has seen in millennia. The statistics were impressive. Trade between species had increased dramatically without Federation restrictions. Scientific discoveries were being shared freely, leading to rapid advances in medicine, technology, and understanding of the universe. Art and culture flourished as species rediscovered their unique identities, but the most significant change was in humanity itself. 50 years ago, we were cast out as primitive and dangerous, President Kim continued. That exile forced us to become something new. We learned to build in the shadows, to find strength in rejection, to value freedom because we had lost it. Admiral Jin Hai's voice came through the speakers. We're receiving a priority transmission from the Outer Rim. Captain Jin Woo is reporting contact with a previously unknown species. The name sent murmurs through the assembly. Jin Woo was legendary, the captain who had led humanity's exodus 50 years earlier. He now commanded exploration vessels that searched the galaxy's farthest reaches for species that had been overlooked by the Federation. "Put him through," President Kim requested. Captain Jin Woo's weathered face appeared on the holographic display. Behind him, the bridge of his ship buzzed with activity. "President Kim, we've made contact with the Ashani in the void fields. They've been hiding from galactic civilization for over 2,000 years. The Federation declared their home region too dangerous to explore." "What's their status?" Ambassador So Jun asked. "They're advanced, peaceful, and terrified," Jinwoo replied. "They went into hiding after the Federation destroyed their neighbors for refusing integration. They've been watching galactic events through long-range sensors." President Kim felt a familiar anger at the Federation's crimes, but also hope for the future. "Are they willing to make contact?" "They want to join the Confederation immediately," Jinwoo said with a smile. "They've been waiting 2 millennia for someone to overthrow the Federation." The assembly erupted in celebration. Another species would be free to rejoin galactic civilization without fear. It was exactly what the Shadow Confederation had been created to achieve. As the celebration continued, President Kim reflected on humanity's journey. They had been cast out as dangerous primitives, forced to build their civilization in the galaxy's forgotten corners. That exile had taught them to value freedom, diversity, and cooperation over control. Now humanity served as the galaxy's guardians, not its rulers. They protected the weak, welcomed the different, and ensured that no species would ever again face the choice between submission and destruction. The galaxy had rejected humanity, calling them too emotional and unpredictable for civilized society. In response, humanity had built something better than civilization. They had created true freedom among the stars. The shadows were lifting, and in the light, the galaxy was finally free.